Southeast Asia, home to more than 655 million people. It's a thriving region with diverse cultures and immense opportunity for all. People are looking for fulfillment and flexibility. They are looking for opportunities for change, opportunities to do better, live better. Why Nu Skin? Why now? Nu Skin gives you the opportunity to earn additional income via its flexible, fast, fulfilling business program and its personal care and wellness products. With Nu Skin's Velocity Pay Plan, you can choose to earn with flexible options, enjoy leveraged income, and work on your own terms to keep you motivated and build a fulfilling future the way you want it. It requires hard work, but with passion and time, you can live life to the fullest. How do you do it? Start by using the products. Then share them with your friends. And start to build a team. When you have a few teams, you can start to build your organization and lead them to also do the same. So you can get paid for doing something you already enjoy, sharing products you love with the people you love. Nu Skin has hundreds of innovative products that can help you look younger and live healthier. With more than 75 in-house scientists located in 2 global research centers and a world-class scientific advisory board, we've created products based on age-lock technology that are backed by science and created under strict quality standards. Our 6S quality process of selection, sourcing, specification, standardization, safety, and substantiation is an approach that ensures strict scientific testing and commitment to quality. The result? A comprehensive range of products that offer anti-aging solutions that work from the outside in and from the inside out. Products that are loved and trusted by many all around the world. Nu Skin has been in business for more than 35 years. We have a global presence in nearly 50 markets around the world. We've grown to become a billion-dollar company listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Through the years, Nu Skin has become a global brand and has garnered more than 400 global awards. But it's more than just numbers. It's the good that we can all do as a Nu Skin family. Nu Skin's Force for Good initiatives strive to improve the lives of children by helping them live a life full of hope in a bright future. In Southeast Asia, we work to help save children with congenital heart diseases. With generous donations and abundant love from our partners, we've saved more than 12,500 children, helping them and their families smile, helping to transform their lives and be better people.
Together, we're improving lives, the products that we offer, the opportunities we share, and the culture that embodies who we are. So let's continue to be a force for good.
Are you ready to look younger, feel healthier, to earn leveraged income, to work hard for your dreams, to build a global business? Find out how you can achieve this and be a force for good. Discover Nu Skin now.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, how you doing? You know, I'm really excited to talk to all of you because it kind of brings back some wonderful memories in my life. You know, it's been an exciting run, a long time, starting as a little kid when I was just running down the track or out there. But guess what? I was getting beat all the time. I wasn't very successful when I started. You see, my parents started a track team back when I was just 8 years old. And the old objective was to do something for women. Because back in the 1960s, when I was growing up, women didn't have an opportunity to compete in sports the same way men did. And so she wanted a track team for girls at her high school, but they refused to put that team in. So my mother said, I'm going to go do it myself. So she and my father went down, they started a team just for girls. And after 1 year, the boys joined, and then, as they say, the rest is history. So I started running when I was really about 8 years old, and it wasn't something that I said I knew I would be doing. It's just that it happened because it was kind of like the early family business, as they say. But when I started running, I realized that I wasn't very good at it. I was small for my age. I had difficult challenges, and I didn't think that I'd be that successful. But my parents were wonderful because they kept encouraging me to be the best that I could be, even in a day when I wasn't winning. But one thing they did, which affected me for the entire life, not just my career, but my entire life. As they said, son, you're going to win some races one day, but you can't worry about winning. You have to worry about yourself. So they said, set a goal. So we set goals when I was young. And so that was important because when you're a kid getting sixth place or not making the finals or not very good, and your sister's like the best in the country, and your brother is great in high school, and the other brother's great in high school, I learned to set my own personal goals. So the funny thing about it is that I'd go into races when I was 9, 10, 11 years old, and I might get 6th or 7th place, and I'd come over and say, what did I run? Because the times were different then. It isn't like it is now. Everything was hand time. So when you finished the race, they could hand time the race, and you went over to the people, and you found your time. Well, there were times when I would get 6th place, and I was happy because I achieved my goal for that day. And then as time went on, I just kept working on my goals. But what happened is that it gets you to evolve a little bit, because when everyone else is worried about winning and I was just worried about setting my goals, it allowed me to focus on my technique, even when I wasn't very good. So I'm this small little skinny kid with the objective of having the absolute best technique, because that technique and that hard work, when you're not watching me, it helped me achieve and set my goals. So I was working behind the scenes, a little kid, and I tried the sprints, I tried the jumps, I tried the throws, I didn't really try distance because I didn't like distance, but I tried all those other events. And I kind of settled on the long jump and hurdles. Well, the reason I settled on the jumps and hurdles, because a lot of times the fastest kids go to the sprints, but the rest of them go to the hurdles and the jumps. So I became a long jumper, and that technique helped me when I got better and better and really not perfected, but really had a good technique, especially for my age. All of a sudden I started getting 3rd and 4th place instead of 6th and 7th or not making the final. And then hurdling was hard because I was still really small, but I had some success in the long jump. Then by the time I started to go, and when I was ended 15 years old, which in the United States is 10th grade, I was pretty good for the area. Wasn't great, wasn't winning, but I was a top 4, top 3 person all the time. And then it all changed. Like that summer, my knees started bothering me. And according to my parents, I started eating a lot more, but I started to grow. And at that point, I was just 5 feet 5 inches. For those of you who understand that, 125 pounds. That was it. So I was a small kid, but then I started to grow. And by 11th grade, I was taller. And by the time I was my last year in high school, when I was 17, I was now about 6 feet, just under 6 feet, and 150 pounds. So I'd grown quite a bit. Still thin and lanky, but I grew. And guess what? All that time of trying to perfect my technique, of trying to jump farther, trying to do all of these things, and jumping, starting at about 6 meters 80 when I was 15 years old, to now jumping over 8 meters. And it all happened because when I wasn't in front of everyone, when I wasn't competing, when I was at practice, I just tried to perfect my technique, even though I wasn't winning and I wasn't one of the best people. It was focusing on that. So how does that relate to you in setting goals? What happens is that sales and movement is all a technique. So focus on perfecting your technique. Always have a great attitude about it. You're going to have bad days. When you have those bad days, try to analyze the day. Winning and losing shouldn't be emotional unless the race is over. Once it's over, it can get emotional, or the event is over, or something happens, you can get emotional. But when you're in the process, you can't get emotional about it. You have to make it businesslike. So I would go into a meet and I would compete and jump. Even when I jumped well or ran well, I would finish it, analyze it. What did I do wrong? What could I have done better? What did I learn? For instance, was the wind this way or that way? How was I affected? That was the first thing I would do before I even thought about it, winning or losing. Then after that, I would take that into the next competition. So setting goals are important because it creates a marker for what you want to achieve. But now, how do you set them? Well, what I did is that I set an ultimate goal and then intermediate goals. Because when I went to high school, I had this whole thing about just trying to jump past the school record at my high school. And then when I left that high school, I was a national record holder. So at that point, I decided I want to jump farther than this guy named Bob Beamon. Bob Beamon was the world record holder, and he jumped 8 meters 90. So this big mythical event that happened in the 1960s, and I wanted to go past it. So that was the ultimate goal. But how is someone that jumped 8 meters 13 going to talk about jumping 8 meters 90? Well, I knew I wasn't ready to go that far. But by setting that ultimate goal, it allowed me to work my way backwards from it. So now all of a sudden, if I wanted to jump 890, then everything short of that was only on the way to getting to 890. It wasn't actually 890. So it changes. So the first year I wanted to jump over 830. And 830 was a big milestone for me. But it wasn't that easy. And I didn't really jump at that first year. Actually, my first year in college, I took a step back and jumped 811. And so many people came to me and they said, my goodness, what are you doing? You made a mistake. You should have gone to this guy because you didn't do it. Well, guess what? I was learning a brand new technique, something different, something new. The whole idea was, how can I jump 890? And he said, you're going to need to do this new technique. So the first year, I was just working on learning something new in an event that's very, very difficult. So sometimes you're going to take a step back when you're learning something new, or you have a new technique, or you have a new idea, or maybe you're in a new market, new people. You're going to have a step back as you learn what you're doing. But then the second year, I was able to jump 863. And then, as they say, the rest was history, because I spent that time on making sure that I was getting closer and closer to 890. All right, so setting my goal and jumping 890 was interesting because, I got into that. And then my first year when I was 19 years old, I jumped 863. And then I jumped 870. And then by the time I was 22 years old, just 3 years later, I jumped 879, just 11 centimeters away. Well, it's like, my goodness, I'm so close. But guess what? I was sprinting then, and I enjoyed sprinting. And one of the people I met growing up, who was a tremendous inspiration to me, was Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens was someone that my father introduced me to when I was about 13 years old. And when that happened to me, it was transformative because I read about Jesse and got to know what he did. And you have to think about the times too. We had books. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have searching. We didn't have cell phones. So we actually had to go read books, dictionaries to find out who and what people were. But the process of just learning about Jesse Owens enabled me to not just see that he ran and won 4 gold medals in Berlin, but he also fought Hitler in a way, not in a sense of I'm going against Hitler. His performances were against Hitler and his ideology of what he felt with the Aryan race. And then he was able to win those 4 gold medals and came back to the United States. And guess what? He couldn't get a job in a lot of cases. He lost his amateur status. He wasn't treated right. So I read about that, and I read about World War II, and I read about the struggles that Jesse Owens had to go through. So that affected me in a positive way to realize that I was going to try to be the absolute best, not just performance-wise, but to learn the area and make it better around me, like Jesse Owens did, but with a better opportunity, many years after him. So I got there, and all of a sudden, I went through these layers of trying to figure out how I wanted to be the best person. And so I thought maybe I should try to do what Jesse Owens did. Maybe I should try to compete in those 4 events. Well, I went to my coach, Coach Tellez, and I said, hey, I'd like think about trying to go for Jesse Owens 4 events. Because at the time, I was #1 in the world in the long jump in the 100. And so I said, well, what do you think? And he's like, I don't know what to think. I've never done it. And the only people that did it are no longer alive. So there's no one to ask. So, but he did tell me something. He said, but if you do that, then it's a good chance that it's going to really affect your long jumping, because you can't go for something like 890 and also do all that sprinting when everyone else is just jumping. So I thought about that for a while, and I realized that I wanted to try, because at the time, you're so young, you think, oh, I can do it. I'll be the first one to do both, to do it all. But in reality, in the back of my mind, I didn't know, because I didn't know how to do it either. I didn't know what the effects were. I didn't know if I could compete in them. I didn't know if it would hurt me. I just didn't know. But I felt like if I didn't try, it would have been more difficult asking, could I have done that? What if, how my world would be different if I was able to achieve what Jesse Owens did. So I actually decided to try it. And it was a few-year process. And first of all, I added the 200 a little bit. And then I went to nationals in the 100 in long jump again. Then the 200 in long jump. Then I ran some more 200. So I started mixing things in. And it wasn't like this process where I just kept running, and then all of a sudden I said, I'm going to go for 4 gold medals. It was a process that took 3 years to go there. And I didn't really tell people what I was doing. I didn't let them know that I was really focused on trying to win 4 gold medals. I just told them that I had to try these different events. And then a year out, I realized I think I can do it. I think I have a shot to do that thing. And so that was change. I had to change at midstream of on my way to trying to beat Bob Beeman's world record of 890. I had to adjust myself and change my training, change my focus, in a lot of ways go out there blind, something that I had no idea that I could do or even try, and try to go to the Olympics a completely different person. Because when I left high school, which was 17 years old, I had no intention of doing anything more than just being a long jumper and helping my college team in the sprints. I never thought I'd be a sprinter. So as it came to me, I just let that happen. And then ultimately, it's interesting because now most people that see me or say something to me, they always say, oh, fastest man in the world. They didn't realize I was a jumper that actually ran. So I guess when you have a pretty good record, it kind of gets people to change what they're thinking about you. But that was really how that evolved in my life. And the thing is that when I was trying to go to Los Angeles and thinking about it, I had a big challenge. And the biggest thing was focusing. Because when you're trying something new that you've never done before or never tried before, it's one thing to focus on that event. But now all of a sudden, I'm leading into the Olympics. And the Olympic Games coming up, it was the first Olympic Games they'd ever had where the media really, really hyped it up beforehand. And in being in Los Angeles, in the United States, it was going to be the media and television and movie capital of the world. So it was going to be about entertainment. But so here I am in my home country, at really the entertainment capital of the world, Los Angeles area. And I've already decided to do something that would be historic. So it was really difficult. It wasn't just a matter of focusing on training, but what about all the photo shoots? What about all the interviews that people wanted? What about the travel, the events? Everywhere I went, it was the same questions. You know, can you do it? Can it be done? Do you know? Sometimes the people were asking those questions because they wanted me to do it. And sometimes they're asking me because they didn't. You know, you get questions like, well, what if you only win 3 medals and you don't get the 4th? Or what if you win 3 golds and a silver? I mean, it just became amazing how people were asking these questions, and they were just didn't know. But deep in my heart, I didn't know either. And even all the way up until the Olympic trials of that year, I didn't know. But I think the biggest thing and the most important thing that allowed me to be successful was being able to focus on those events. And so my technique was to create a rhythm of how I focused. It wasn't just a thing like, well, go out and do your race tomorrow. No, I actually had a ritual that started the night before. And number one, I would take my uniform and I'd lay it in the chair in the order that I would put it on. So I put the sweats first, and then the outer tights or things first, second. Then I put the running uniform. Then I put my socks, and I set my shoes down below with my shoe bag on top. So that was just a ritual that I did. It wasn't a big deal, but I did that. Then secondly, because in track and field, especially in my events, everything happens so fast. The long jump, you're in the air for 1 second. The runway, you're on the runway for 3 to 4 seconds. 100 meters, as we know, it's 10 seconds, but things happen in 1 and 2 second increments down the race. You're only at top speed for 1 second. You're out of the blocks for less than a second. So these are things that happen so fast. So what I would do, whatever event I was doing the next day, I would think about it. Like people say, you count sheep at night to go to sleep, because I was always really nervous the day before. So it was always hard to go to sleep the night before a big race. Always difficult to go to sleep. Matter of fact, I don't think I ever got 8 hours sleep before a big race. Matter of fact, I know I didn't. So I came up with this idea of focusing on the specifics of the event. And so if it was a sprint, then I think of the start. You know, come to your mark, set, push, stroke your arms, let your body, all of those elements. So I would go over that over and over and over. And in the long jump, you know, push out of the back, come up, put your arm up. These are the things. So I would think about that over and over and over until I fell asleep. So I created that ritual and just think about it over and over and got up, so that I reiterate and reemphasize what I needed to accomplish that day. So it's like you'll create whatever your ritual is, and then know, what do I want to accomplish? Because if you know exactly what you're trying to do, even when things go wrong around you, it's a lot easier for you to adjust. So I wake up in the morning, generally woke up 4 hours minimum before I had to compete. Always a minimum of 4 hours. So if we competed at 10, I was up at 6. 9, I was up at 5. Because I wanted to give my body enough time to wake up. You need about 3 to 4 hours for your body to wake up. So that was just part of my whole shtick of what I did. And you know, it's interesting, because once you hit this ritual, once you think about it, once you're all prepared, then all of a sudden now you have to go compete. And so that's the challenge. You know, you think that when you're ready, it's easy, and you're prepared, you got it. And if you're the best, you can just walk in there. Well, I'll tell you something. I was nervous every single race I ever ran. And I wasn't nervous because I wasn't prepared. I was nervous because you don't know what's going to happen. It's just like anything. You have no idea what the outcome is going to be. So I would stay in the elements and always adjust myself. So if I go to an event, I get there, I do my same warm-up, the same ritual warm-up. And then when I was in the beginning, I'd always say good luck to everyone. And I'd look at them, because generally I was the tallest one all the time. So I'd always kind of try to get close and shake their hand and look down at them, you know, so to kind of create this presence and just say, good luck, good race. But, you know, I had this presence like, you know, I'm going to get you now. So that was just kind of the idea of what I had. And then when the race comes, the same thing, because they say, you know, come to your mark. And so you get to the mark. So I would always go down, sit, get into the block. So before I set my hands down, I would always get up, sit with my elbow on the knee, and just go back over those elements again for the last time. And I was always the last one to put my hands down because I was focusing on that part of it. And then set your list for the gun and you go. And on the long jump runway, I'd stand back and do the same thing. Before I left, I would talk myself through it. If you even look at videos of me jumping, if they show me on the runway, you'll see that my mouth was moving because I was actually talking my way through. Push out of the back, run down the runway, get your arm up, put your feet down. These are all the things that I did all the time. So I just talked about it over and over and over. And so all of you, it's the same thing in sales and everything else. Get your ritual and make sure that you evaluate what really worked well, because some things are going to work well and some things are not. So you're going to adjust. Oh, I did this well today, but I didn't do that, or I didn't pick up on that cue. So I'll remember that I'll find that cue the next time. So these are the kind of things that you can do in order to make sure that you find some consistency in how your success is. But guess what? You're still not going to win every single time. And that's the thing. Even if you were perfect, you did everything right, you're still not going to win. I went through that situation with a challenging thing with athletes that I competed against. I didn't win every race. It's just not going to happen. But know what's important. Like me, what was important was me to win on television. So I was just like, look, you may not, you may think I won every race because on TV I tried to win every race. But I did lose my races off the scene, so I tried to keep them in the background. But that's really what it was. And you have to find that sweet spot of what's important to you, what events are important to you, how can you be successful, and then evaluate that over and over and over so that you get a rhythm that allows you to be the best you can be. I'm a college coach now, and I work with one of the things that I do, and I work with the University of Houston. And so in the process of coaching in college, you have to be a recruiter. Well, a recruiter is a salesman. And I remember the first year I started recruiting, I went out to talk to kids, and I had this beautiful presentation. The head coach, many of you may know him, Leroy Burrell. He had this wonderful presentation, and it was on his tablet, and it was just beautiful. He comes in and he says, I want to show you the University of Houston. And it's this beautiful tablet. And he shows everything. He gets all the information, all the backstories, all the events we did, all this stuff. And it was just like, wow, this is really nice. I want to go back and run again. He really, really presented it well. And so I watched this. I went through the process. We got down there. We got really, really, really close to when the signing day is for all the kids. And I was like, how did it go? Well, guess what? We hardly got anyone. And it was just devastating because you realize that you did everything right, but then no one came. But guess what? I didn't do everything right, because what I didn't do in the first place was evaluate who I was selling to. I just came in and assumed that they would say, oh, well, that's Carl Lewis, that's Leroy Burrell, and I'm going to want to go to Houston and everything else. They thought that. I assumed that. Well, I found out that there were other factors outside of me that I couldn't control. Like, for instance, in college in the United States, they have this whole system. Well, certain schools are in the A League, and that A League, those people are focused on making sure that they separate themselves from everyone else. Well, Houston was technically in the double A league. They were not in the A1 league. We all competed against each other, but it was a different league that we were doing. And so, a different level. Well, I was like, wait a minute. When I thought about it, I realized that we went in there and we sold our product like an A-level product. And right now we were an AA product. And everyone said, I'm not buying this A product from your AA team. And that's what it was. So I had to completely change how I started recruiting. So I went, instead of going in with this beautiful presentation and showing our school and knowing that we're a school, probably an A, close to an A in facilities, and we're right up there in the top of facilities and everything, but we just didn't have the reputation. We had not performed as an A school. So I changed and I said, look, let's throw all that stuff out and stop trying to act like an A school and then find out what are our advantages. Well, our advantages were not even an AA school and it hadn't been our performance, but our advantage is telling our story. So I started going out more so by myself at that time. And instead of going and saying, we have this wonderful school, we can help you go, you'll graduate, get everything, I changed to a whole idea of, well, first of all, you're going to go 4 years and finish your school. That's number one. And you think that wasn't that normal? Well, in the track and field world, it isn't. If you have success, you may leave early. But I said that's not going to happen because the financial gain that you get as a college athlete and with your degree, in most cases, you'll make more with a degree than you will as a professional track athlete. Not everyone, but the vast majority of it. So therefore, that was the first thing to sell, how important school was. Then the second thing was, instead of making it about us as a school and our reputation as an A school and everything, I made it about them. So I asked a question when I first walked in the door every single time with someone. I said, imagine, and now mind you, these are kids that are 17, 18, maybe 19. So they're all teenagers. And I said, imagine yourself at 40 years old and we're sitting down again. After all the years, you've gone through your career, you finished college, and you called me and said, hey, coach, I'm going to take you to lunch. And so you take me to lunch. You know, I'm older now. I'm like in my 70s. And I'm like, yeah, what's going on, young man? You know, I walk in, or young lady, what's going on? And they said, oh, it's just great to see you, coach. Thank you for your time when I was here. And then I just stop and I ask him, what are you going to do? What have you done? What have you achieved? So I'm going to ask you a question. When you're 40, tell me what you achieved. So, wow, most kids are just set back. They're like, well, I never thought about that. And the whole point was, if we go back when we talked about goals, 890 was my goal. So now the kids will say, well, I don't really know. I mean, I want to. I said, no, you don't want to do anything. You're a king or queen for a moment. Tell me what you accomplished when you're 40 years old. And they'd say, well, I went to the Olympics. How did it go? Well, I won a gold medal. Yes, how many events? I'd be that specific. How many Olympics? You got your degree. Did you go to graduate school? Did you get your master's? Are you an attorney? Family. Are you married then? Do you have kids? How many kids do you want to have? I mean, this specific, and it just kind of, you take about a 5-minute trip down your future road. And generally when it's over, the kids are like in their heads now. Now they're like, wow, I never thought about my future like that. And the whole point was, once we got there, and let's say, look, I've been through the process. I've went through college. I had success. I went to the Olympics. I was a world record holder. I have a son. I have a granddaughter. I've had started my own businesses. I volunteered. I did all of these things in the career. All the things you talked about, I've achieved those. So guess what? I know how to get you to get what you want to do. And a lot of times they never even thought about what they want to do yet because they were just doing it. They're teenagers. So therefore I got in their heads about that. And the idea was to convince them that I can help you achieve what you want to do, what you want to achieve. So you see, it's the same thing. You know, you're not selling a product, which was the University of Houston track and field program. You're selling them their future, and I can help you achieve their future. So we immediately create this bond. So the kids that come, they're like, you can help me achieve my goals. Not only my goals, my dreams. And so I go in not as a coach, not as someone that says, I'm going to coach you to run fast and help you get your degree. I go in as your dream maker. So I help you achieve your dream. I help you become the best that you can be, and all the things you dreamed about doing, I'm the one that helps you do that. So that was really the objective of how I was able to start recruiting. And then guess what? The second year, we had the best recruiting class in the entire nation. And we've been a top recruiting class ever since. And guess what? We're beating all those A squads. So no one talks about a AA or a B or a C anymore. We're looked at as a top tier A squad. So I think that it's so important for you to remember not only what you want to achieve, not only setting your goals, you have to have a strategy. And that strategy evolves like I did the first time I walked in there, and I had to create that strategy. So the new strategy allowed me to be able to go and achieve that goal and be the best that I absolutely can be. And then take that and translate it to you and be a dream maker. And that dream maker can help you be exactly what you want to be. So that's it. So when you meet someone, you walk someone, have that strategy. And my strategy was, instead of being like the AA coach and everything was just beautiful and grand, it became a situation where I just had to teach you that I can be your dream maker. And that was my strategy. But, once you get kids and once you get the people around you, you have to take charge. And I guess it's not just me taking charge with those athletes. It's me taking charge with my career. When I came into track and field, and I remember I told my track coach when I was 17, I said, I want to jump 8 meters 90, and I want to be a millionaire. And I never want to work a job. I'm just a 17-year-old kid, just telling his story and making it strong. And I acted like I believed in it. And he's like looking at me saying, is this kid crazy? What's he talking about? And he's like, okay, we got to go to work. You got to do this. But I know in his mind he's saying, this kid's crazy, but I'm going to help him jump 890. I know that's what he was saying. Because I wanted to be a millionaire because I watched the National Basketball Association. I watched the NFL. I watched Major League Baseball on TV. And they were all successful financially through their sports. So me, being naive, I wanted to do the same thing. I thought, okay, I could be like them. But I didn't realize when I got there that track didn't make much money. Matter of fact, track really technically didn't make any money because we were amateur. And so when I realized it, well, how can I be a millionaire if the sport doesn't make money? So I had to take charge of my own future. And if either you can just accept it and realize it's not going to be the same, or you can change the rules so that you can become a professional, so that you can make the money. So me being young and hungry, that's what I did. I actually changed the rules and fought to do that. So we became professional about 5 or 6 years into my career, but it was a hard fight. I had to first start talking about it and then try to rally athletes around, and then had to work with the federations. And that's not just the U.S. Federation. That's the Athletics Federation here. That's the International Olympic Committee, the International Track and Field Federation. And then in a lot of ways, it was convincing a lot of athletes, because a lot of the athletes that were older didn't want the sport to be professional. They were okay with it. And some of the young ones coming in were the same way. So it was a challenge to get people to change. But the thing is that I was able to take charge of the future, but it happened because I had a goal. We talked about early. I had a goal to be a millionaire. So if you're somewhere that doesn't make money and you want to be a millionaire, well, then you're going to have to figure out a way to change it. So it wasn't easy. It wasn't just changing the rules, but I also had to learn how to present myself so that people would want to pay me. I had to learn how to communicate so people would understand me and my goals and aspirations. So it was just traveling. It was going to acting school. It was taking classes about business and finance and learning how to do speeches and everything. These are all things I did in the 80s. I worked for a television station. I worked for a radio station. And you know what? You probably didn't even know all of that. And most people don't know that I did all of those things in the 80s because I was developing a brand that people wanted to pay. And then so once that brand was developed, then we had the whole, everything came together, because that was the time when I was able to get the rules changed. So now the rules are changed. And then the brand is built. And it became this thing that came together right around the late 80s. And that's when everything exploded. And I was able to achieve that goal through commercials, endorsements, and also track meets. And when the time I left my sport in 1997, I was obviously the highest paid athlete ever, but had transformed an entire business. And we were just an amateur small business of no money, under the table cash, to a multi-billion-dollar business where we had multiple millionaires and people becoming very, very successful. And so that's really what happened. But it didn't come by accident. It came by a lot of hard work, a lot of planning, a lot of focus, and behind the scenes. Because even in sales, most of your work is still going to be preparation and behind the scenes. So I really realized how important that was, to stay behind the scenes and work, do the extra training, do the listening. If I went to the Grammy Awards, which my good friend Narada Michael Walden took me to, I didn't just go and enjoy the stage. I would go up to a Michael Jackson or a Prince or a Quincy Jones or Al Jarreau, and I'd ask them about their careers. And I'd try to say, how can I incorporate that into my career? And as times went on and people got to know me, especially after LA, they actually were willing to talk to me. When Frank Sinatra invited me to a party, I talked to him. You know, I was a fan and I talked to him, and Lucille Ball and all these people. So everything was a part of the process of becoming the best that I could be and building the brand so that I could have the success. So you're going to have situations where you're far from work and you're like having the greatest time, but someone really interesting walks in the room, and you don't just sit there and say, oh, it's about work. I work for so-and-so. No, it's about how do I talk about things that I can incorporate into my life, make it easier for me to be successful, but also enjoy the time. Because Lucille Ball was an actor that obviously had tremendous success. She was in her 70s at this time. And when I talked to her, she was so sweet, so wonderful. But what I remembered the most out of her is that she was a joy to be around. And she had amazing legs, absolutely amazing legs, even in her 70s. So what did I take out of that? Number one, she was the first woman to own her own studio. So she was a leader, a pioneer. Secondly, even at her age, she made sure that she was able to present herself in a way that people would remember. And she looked, you know, her face was older, but she looked like Lucy. So I realized that when my career was going and when my career ended, if I built that brand, then I want people to recognize and be transformed back to that moment, because that was the thing about like Lucy and all that. When you see them, it transforms you back to that moment. So for you, get all the information from every single event. Keep taking notes. And when you see interesting people, get ideas, not just in sales. It could be something totally different. But always take in information and knowledge, continue to learn, because that's what's going to help you present yourself in all different kinds of situations. Now, I guess you come to a point where you have success and you're doing really well. And then you feel like you've reached your peak. For me, that was 84. 1984, I reached my peak. And I was the biggest star in the world. I just won 4 Olympic gold medals. The whole world watched it in the entertainment capital of the world. And everyone knew who I was, what I did, how it goes. Everyone knew it. I was 23 years old. I just turned 23. And then got home from the Olympics. And I remember decompressing. And of course I was excited, but exhausted because it was a month-long odyssey after a years-long odyssey to even get there. And I was like, I'm the biggest star in the world. I'm 23 years old. And I'm never going to be bigger than this the rest of my life. So what do I do? It was a tough time to think about that, your life in that context. The first thing I did is I had a season to finish. I finished my season. I got off. Then, of course, I hit the circuit of all the interviews and things. That was all in the fall, so nothing slowed down. And then I started thinking, what do I do now? I'm so young, I can't retire. And then I set new goals. Now all of a sudden, no one had ever competed in the long jump, or won rather, in the long jump 2 times in a row, or the 100 meters. So I said, well, let me try to do 4 again. So I tried again, and I got to 88, and I was able to win the 100, the long jump, and the relay. We were disqualified in the relay, and I got second in the 200. So I did something that had not been done. I actually was able to win both of those events for a second time. It had never been done. So therefore, you're at 2 Olympics now. But guess what? Now I'm 27. And so it's like in track world at the time, that's getting old. But I said, well, you know what? I want to go back again. Now I want to do it 3 times in a row. It's never been done. So I go back the 3rd time, and I get to the Olympic trials, and I'm ready. I feel good. And then a couple of days going in, I just didn't feel a little myself, but I felt okay. And so I go to the Olympic trials, later find out I had a virus. And so I ended up not qualifying in the 100 meters. I was in the final, but didn't make the team. The 200 in the final didn't make the team. I made the team in the long jump. So when it was over, I knew the sprint coach for the relay. He says, I'd love for you to be on the relay pool, part of the relay group, although you were 6th place, but you're an alternate, the first alternate. But it created a new challenge. Now, this is the first time I've gone to the Olympics and only had 1 or 2 events. So it was a new challenge, but it was also an opportunity because the previous year I just lost the world record in the long jump. So it gave me a chance to go back. So I go back to the Olympics. One of the guys got hurt and they inserted me in a relay. So now I'm back in 2 events. And so I was able to go back and win the long jump for a 3rd time. Now, mind you, no one had ever won it twice in a row, and now it's the 3rd time. And it wasn't like I was trying to do this, but each time when it ended, I set a new goal to do the next time again, and then erase the one behind it. Because to me, I didn't look back and say, oh my God, look how great I was, because that doesn't matter. I would take my Olympic medals when it was over, and I put them in a safe deposit box and wouldn't look at them, because it wasn't like the past doesn't win a race. So it was 3 in a row, and now I'm 31. And it's like, well, this is probably the end of it. Well, I waited and just kept competing because that was what I did. My biggest commercial was right around that time, so I just kept going and kept going, and things were happening. The next thing you know, I'm 35 years old. I'm older. I'm not so sure about myself, so I changed my technique. I changed I changed my focus, and so I go into the 1996 Olympics. Not the favorite. Mike Powell's the favorite, and I'm the 35-year-old guy. And so I walk into the stadium for the qualifying day, and I get this wonderful cheer. It was like, you're the old guy. We've seen you a long time. This is kind of like our thank you and goodbye, And it was very touching. But I go the first day. I take 1 or 2 jumps, and I'm in 12th place. And they take 12 people. So I'm on this runway for my 3rd jump, and I'm listening to the announcer announce. A guy jumps farther, and the announcer goes, Carl Lewis is in 13th place. Mind you, they only take 12 to the final for the next day. And then 14, and then 15. So I just drop and I drop as these guys are jumping past my jump, which wasn't very good. So I get up on the runway for my last jump. Now, mind you, 80,000 people are sitting there watching. The world's watching, and everyone's nervous. And it's like, is this it? And I remember clearly, like it happened 5 minutes ago. I stood there and I said, well, this is it. You've won 8 gold medals in the Olympics. You've been here. This is your 12th year, or 16th year, actually, as an Olympic cycle, because I made the 80 team that boycotted. And you have the ability to make the final. You have the ability to win. But if you don't do it today, you don't have the chance to do it tomorrow. And guess what? Even though you've had 8 gold medals and you've had a long career in the Olympic Games, they're going to say, oh, the guy, he waited too long. He should have got out. He's a has-been. That will be the story. That will be my story for the rest of my life. They'll say, oh, he was a great guy, but he stayed around too long. He became punch drunk. He didn't listen. He couldn't. That would be a major part of my story in the future. So I focused. I went back to the simple thing. I concentrated on pushing out of the back and doing what I had to do. So I go down. I'm running down the runway. And I know there was kind of like this pause, like, and I hit the board. And when you hit the board, you know if it's a good one. So I knew immediately it was a good one. I go up and I land, and of course you wait for that flag, white flag. It's legal jump. So the crowd kind of lets that gasp out. He made it, because you could tell from the boards that I was in. And then they waited and they made the announcement. Carl Lewis jumped 27 something, 8 meters, 20 something. And I went from 15th to 1st, just like that in the qualifying. Now, of course, you can't win with that because everything starts over. But I knew the psychological effect. And so I went to bed saying, I can win this. I can win this. And I went through the elements before I went to sleep. I laid out my uniform in that regular order. And I went over those elements, and I fell asleep on those elements. And I got it the next day, and it's an evening event. I had breakfast, lunch, and a light dinner. I had that confidence all day, and then I would go out for the competition the next day. Well, I knew when I was focusing on the elements, I knew they went to bed saying, oh my God, what just happened today? Can he do it again? I knew that I was in their heads. So the next day I get out, the first jump was okay. I go into like third place. The second jump wasn't a good jump at all. And my coach is really mad at me, and I'm looking at him. He's like, dude, what are you doing? So he's like, I'm not even talking to you. I don't know what's going on. So the way it sets up, you have 6 jumps on the day. You take 3, and the top 12 get 3 more jumps. So I was setting myself up. I'm sorry, let me correct that. We started with 12, and the top 8 get 3 more jumps. So if you're in the top 8, you get 6. If you're 9, 10, 11, or 12, you only get 3. So I get there. It's after 2 jumps. We're all sitting there. We're getting ready to go to the 3rd round. Well, after those 3 rounds, they take the best jumper and put him last. And then the second best is second to last, and so on all the way up to 8. So the shortest jumper of the 8 jumps first. Well, I knew that if I was the last jumper, I'd be on their heads. They'd be just thinking, oh my God, what's Carl doing? What's Carl going to do? So I go down, and I take that last run, and I push, and I feel great. And I gave the energy because I knew I had to be in first place after those 3 jumps. And I run down, I feel great. I'm on my mark. I hit the board. And the second I hit it, I said, that's a big one. And I'm in the air, and there are markers on the side where you can see the distance. I mean, I was so in control of that jump that I just turned my head at the marker and looked at it coming down. Now, mind you, you're in the air only 1 second. So all the things that you do in the air, and I did in the air, was done in less than 1 second. So I hit the board, and I'm in the air flying, and then bam, I hit that sand and bounce right out. And the crowd, the pictures go in, the crowd roars. They see it. Everyone sees it. Well, now I can't control that jump. It's over. So I go into this mode where you celebrate, but you also want to get in their heads. So it takes some time to measure, and everyone's watching. And the athletes want to act like that doesn't matter because I know I can beat it, but it really does matter because you're not sure. So I celebrate. I immediately go to the crowd. I'm celebrating and everything, and then they make the announcement. Not only did I take the lead, but I took the lead by a full foot, which is 30 centimeters. I took the lead by 30 centimeters, and it just kind of blew everything. The crowd goes crazy, and I knew that the athletes was in their head. So we finished the round, and it shifts over. Now all of a sudden, I'm the last jumper. So my objective is, now that I'm in the lead, let's just finish it. I want to stop it right now. But it doesn't work like that. But so we had 3 more jumps for everyone. And the thing is that it was so disconcerting to everyone else. Almost all the jumps were fouls. There were some legal jumps, but about 80% of the rest of the jumps were scratch jumps where it didn't count. And just that big jump got in their heads. So what I'm just telling all of you, if it was easy, boy, I tell you, everybody would be good at it. Sales, life, business, they're all the same. It's setting up your plan, setting your goals, realizing there are going to be challenges, getting all the information, staying focused, create relationships, because I had with my coach who I still talk to today. It's all the same thing. But what it really comes down to is how you manage all of those aspects of your life and of the process in order to make sure that you're prepared to have that big jump. And then put yourself in a situation where when you're going to get that big deal or something really happens, or when you look back on it, you had all those times where you got on the runway, you told yourself, I've got to focus. I have to make sure that my legacy, which is how you want to be remembered, how you want to do it, it's all the same. So what I say is that you go out there, you make every single time you do this performance, you make every single one your time on the runway or your time on the blocks. And you stop and you think, you put your knee up, your elbow on your knee, and you go through your elements. Or you stand at the runway and you talk yourself through it. You start with your ritual the night before or the time before by laying out your uniform and putting your shoes correctly. You make sure you talk yourself into existence. when you're asleep or when you're walking up. Make yourself, your successful self, from preparation and confidence and knowledge and memory, because you can win your Olympic gold medals and you can be the one that determines what your career is. See, when I stepped up there that last time and said, even after 8, I could be defined by this moment. Well, if you prepare yourself, you can define your moment, and that will make your opportunity and what you're doing become very, very successful.